presentation is based on the drama titled The End of the Spear by Every Tribe Productions with excerpts from Hughes Continued, edited by Dr. Kit Kurtz.
The End of the Spear tells the story of the martyrdom of 5 missionary men who died at the end of the spear shot by Waodani tribesmen of Ecuador in 1956. This script pays tribute to those men who gave their lives so that a people in darkness might see a great light.
We present this story in the memory of those men, and to remind us all of the power of God's amazing grace, the power of forgiveness, and the power of the gospel to bring reconciliation and peace.
Ours is the story of how the greatest love and sacrifice brought the light of Christ to a people trapped in an ancient culture of death.
And how the good news brought an end to a life of fear, bloodshed, revenge, and superstition.
Greater love has no one than this, than to lay down his life for another.
Jesus is the only one who makes our warring cease.
He breaks the bow and shatters the spear.
Our presentation is based on true events.
With the aid of an old Piper Cub airplane, the lives of 5 missionaries forever changed the lives of Waodani, also known as the Alpha.
They left their wives and children to reach out to the warriors of the Waodani tribe.
Our story reveals the true meaning of laying down his life to save another. Our cast of characters includes
The narrators.
I am Nate Saint, the missionary pilot who brought the love of Christ to the jungle village of Waodani.
I am Steve Saint, the son of missionary pilot Nate Saint.
I am Mrs. Saint and the mother of Steve.
I am Nate Saint's sister, Rachel. My brother gave his life to make the way for me to bring the gospel to the very people who brutally killed him.
I am Dayume, a native Waodani who escaped from death at the hands of my own people. I was given a new home and a new life at the missionary village with Rachel Saint.
I am Minkayami, the warrior who wielded my spear into the heart of Nate Saint. To understand our story, you need to know about my people, the Waodani. Like my ancestors, I was raised to live by bloodshed and death.
This is a story that Dayume lived to tell.
We take you back to the Amazon basin of Ecuador. The year is 1943.
I was just a boy then.
And I was just a girl.
I grew up in the rainforest, living the way the Waodani lived since the beginning of time.
The fierceness of my people was legendary. A warrior was igniting a spirit to death, a helpless child.
More than half of all the Waodani died from the spears of other Waodani.
The cycle of revenge brought the Waodani to the brink of extinction.
Picture in your mind the deep darkness of the jungle, where my small village lay sleeping in a communal hut.
Suddenly, enemy warriors charged from the brush.
What mom?
The sleeping village woke with screams in the darkness and chaos. Men from the village grabbed their spears in defense.
Stagger sharp spears were flying in every direction, killing instantly at random.
Shrieks of fright, spears, arrows of machete, striking death!
Mothers grabbed their babies and tried to escape.
We run for our lives into the darkness of the jungle.
A warrior leapt from the brush, his neck raised to kill me, but the spear struck him from behind. He clutched at the spear that had pierced him through. With his last breath, his fierce eyes flashed at me, with evil fury and hatred as he fell to the ground.
A warrior chased me through the jungle. I could hear him, slashing through the brush, coming closer and closer.
Then the earth shook.
With a fierce roar of thunder and a flash of lightning, the rain came flooding down.
The pursuer retreated.
I huddled in shock, shivering in the rain until the light of dawn.
In the morning light, survivors of the killing spree began to emerge from the covering of the jungle brush.
I ran with Minkayami down to the river and into the jungle.
Next full moon, we'll go back.
I'll never go back.
They ran into a clearing where some of the people from my mission were gathering reeds. The mission people saw Dayume running towards them.
They knew the terror of the Waodani.
No, Dayume, they'll kill you.
And then if I stay,
They'll eat your flesh.
then I'll join my ancestors. Turning, I ran and fell to the ground and looked up at the guns pointed straight at me.
Now our story takes you to 1956, 13 years later, to a mission village in Shelbera, Ecuador. Join me and my son Stevie in our mission home. This was the time when we were first looking for Waodani.
I told him the violent stories of Waodani. Everyone who knew the jungle knew the stories.
I saw their violence as a trap, like a prison that they couldn't escape from on their own.
Dad would make flights as often as he could to try to find one of their small villages.
Those were the only times that we were afraid when he was flying.
I was hunting with some men of my tribe when we heard the strange sound. Not a sound we knew from the jungle.
I heard my father's voice come over the radio.
Shell, come in. 56 heading, section clear.
Roger that.
I'm going down for a closer look.
I climbed a tree to see above the brush. What was this strange noise? A strange, very big wood bee. I drew my spear to kill it as it flew over me.
Contact, sector 6. Do you copy, Shell?
Roger that.
I said contact. Woohoo, we found him. North corner, sector 6.
Mom! I ran to the radio. Contact Sector 6. Roger that.
I'm going back around.
The big yellow bee flew over me again. I drew my spear to kill it, but it flew too high, and then it was gone from my sight.
Back at the mission station, we had a party since we were so happy that Dad had spotted the Waodani. The joy of the celebration did not stop Dad from forging ahead with his plan to save the Waodani. I listened as Mom expressed her worries to Dad.
Does Rachel know about your plan? She knows about the Waodani better than any of us. I don't think she would agree, Nate. It's too dangerous.
I tell my sister Rachel, she's going to tell her mission board, and we'll just be talking about this 2 years from now. We don't have 2 years. We have one chance to reach these people. Now, this is it.
How do you think you're going to land your plane? You don't even have an airstrip, Nate.
Oh, I can find a place on the river to put the plane down. Maybe we'll call it Palm Beach.
Nate, this is not a picnic. No one's ever made contact with the Waodani and lived to tell about it.
We'll have our guns if it comes to it. We'll shoot in the air. The Indians always run from guns.
I understand. I'm just worried about you. Be careful. Ready?
The men made several flights over the village, dropping small tokens down from the plane each time. They also shouted this message.
Dayume is alive! Dayume is alive!
Aunt Rachel lived in a remote village that bordered Waodani territory. I knew Dad was protecting her by keeping the Waodani contacts a secret. I just wanted someone to protect my dad, so I called her.
This is Shell. Over.
Shell, I read you. What a wonderful surprise, Stevie. How are you? Over.
I'm good at Rachel, but I'm preparing a little surprise for Mom, and I need some help. Over.
A surprise? Sounds great. Fire away. Over.
I want to learn some Waodani. Over.
Aunt Rachel was silent. Even the word Waodani stirred up great trepidation.
Wow, Donnie. Why? Over.
My mom wants to be able to greet Dayume the next time she comes to visit. Over.
All right. What do you have in mind? Over.
Something like, I am your friend. Your sincere friend. Over.
That's an easy one. Dayume is right here. Just repeat after her.
Hello, Stevie. We say Bua,
Ua.
Bia,
Bia.
Unun Wa.
Unun wa.
Ua, Bia, Unun Wa.
Ua. Bia. Unun wa.
The day arrived when we were finally ready to try and land the plane to make real contact. I won't tell you it was easy to say goodbye to our wives and children. We all understood the danger.
Hey, if the Waodani attack, will you defend yourselves? Will you use your guns?
Son, we can't shoot the Waodani. They're not ready for heaven. We are.
Will you promise me one thing? Just one thing?
Yes, son, what is it?
If you get in a jam, in a real jam, will you promise me you'll say these words to them?
What words?
The Waodani words. They mean, I am your friend, your sincere friend. Ua, Bia, Unun wa.
Ua, Bia,
Unun wa.
Ua, Bia, Ununwa. Right?
Yeah.
All right, son.
We tried to imagine Nate landing on the river sandbar near the Waodani village. We prayed for their safety, knowing that our missionary men were about to meet the Waodani face to face.
That was the last time we ever saw them.
Mr. Saint put the plane down, landing on a sandbar near the village. They yelled out messages in the Waodani language, words I had taught them.
The creator God you call Wangongi. Wangongi has sent us. We're just like you. Wangongi is our friend.
Slowly, the Waldani emerged from the brush. Cautiously, guardedly, they began to speak to them, the first foreigners they had ever encountered.
It seemed as if they were willing to trust us. But just when we thought things were going so well,
Where is Gayume? You have eaten her flesh! Where is Gayume?
suddenly that momentary peace turned to violence.
We heard a terrified voice come over the radio.
Shell! Come in, Shell! Come in! Shell, come in!
That was the last we heard.
As I lay on my back, taking my last breaths, pierced through with the Waldani spear, I heard Stevie's voice calling back over the radio.
This is Shell. Over. Come in. What's wrong, Dad? Come in. Daddy! Are you okay? Please come up, Daddy. Come in. Daddy! Daddy!
I stood over Nate as he was dying and looked into his eyes. He did not look at me with evil or hate. He spoke these words with his last breaths. What strange way is this? This man did not curse me for taking his life. He called me his true friend. What strange way is this?
All 5 men died at the end of a spear.
When passing through,
The gates of pearly splendor,
Victors, we rested thee.
through endless days.
But God was not finished with this story.
Several of us, the wives of these martyrs, knowing that we could be met with the same death as our husbands, did something that no one else in the world would have ever dared to do. We came to the Waldani with our own children, to risk our own lives, to bring the good news to the people who murdered our husbands.
these missionary wives helped my people through an epidemic of polio, helped plant crops, and shared the message of the gospel.
I could not understand. Why did these women not want to kill us? What strange way was this?
Eventually, we actually led the majority of the Waldani to faith in Christ, ending decades of brutal tribal killings.
Now our story takes you to 1994, over 30 years later. My wife and I journeyed to Ecuador to attend my Aunt Rachel's funeral. The Waldani asked me to stay.
Please, Steve, stay with us. Your father is buried here, and your aunt is buried here. Stay with us.
I had no plans to give up my life in Florida to go back to the jungle. There was still a part of me deep down that could not love this place, these people, that little boy inside me, still missing his father, still angry that he was taken from me.
Steve, there is some place you need to see.
No other explanation was offered. We paddled down the river and Minkayani pulled the canoe over to a sandbar. He began to dig in the brush with his knife. I sat quietly, puzzled at his strange actions.
Minkayani stopped his digging. Steve realized that this must be the place where his father gave his life.
I ran to the spot and started digging. There I found the remains of the plane. I could not hold back the tears. Is this the place? Is this where it happened?
Then, Minkayani handed Steve a faded photograph.
It was the picture of me as a boy that my father had taped to the cockpit of his plane. I was overcome with grief, but nothing could have prepared me for what Minkayani said next.
It happened here. They didn't shoot us. There is something else you need to know. I speared your father. I took your father's life.
At first, the anger welled up inside me. That anger and outrage I had felt as a boy at the murder of my father.
I handed Steve a spear. I told him, now you kill me. I was waiting for Steve to take the spear, to pierce me like I pierced his father. But Steve looked into my spirit and said,
You did not take my father's life. He gave it up for you.
Minkayani fell to the ground, weeping. The power of Christ's love and forgiveness washed over him like a flood.
the power of love and forgiveness that changed me, a murderer, one so filled with hate and fear and revenge.
The power of love and forgiveness that changed me, that saved my life, that saved my people.
The love of Christ that brings salvation to the world. He is no fool who gives what he cannot keep.
To gain that which he cannot lose.